Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. You know the drill, every day we bring you one Reddit story, and on Wednesdays and Sundays we drop the craziest, most epic ones. Today's lineup is chilling, shocking, so grab a drink, grab a snack, get comfy, and let's get into these twisted Reddit stories. Oh, and if you enjoy these stories, smash that like button and subscribe. You don't want to miss what's coming next. Disturbing stories from a child psychiatrist. For obvious reasons, I can't give too many specifics, and I've changed some minor details so patients can't be identified. But I need to get some of this off my chest. Medical school doesn't prepare you for the things you will see in real life. Case 1. Miranda was a 5-year, 4-month-old Caucasian female with no prior psychiatric history. I was working hospital consults at the time. She was admitted to the peds floor earlier in the week for seizure-like activity, and I was consulted by her primary team for evaluation of odd behavior. You never know what you'll be walking into with a vague consult like that, and usually I'll try to get more details, but the resident requesting the consult had a tone in his voice of restrained terror and urgency, so I decided to just come see for myself. Miranda was small for her age, thin and waif-like, with pale milky white skin and long dark hair. When I entered the room, she was lying in bed watching cartoons, a blank expression on her face. Mom was in the corner in a chair, knees pulled up to her chest, a vacant stare on her face. When she noticed me, she jumped up and swiftly walked over. "Please don't make any loud sounds, doctor. She doesn't like that," she said in a small voice. I introduced myself and started to take a history. Miranda had reportedly been a normal, chatty little girl until 2 weeks ago, after she came home from visiting her father in another state. Mom noticed right away she was acting differently. She was quiet, talked very little, and never smiled. When she called the father to ask if anything happened, he said nothing out of the norm. The night before hospital admission, Mom said she walked into the kitchen to get a glass of water around 2 a.m., flipped on the light, and Miranda was just standing there facing the refrigerator. Mom screamed because she wasn't expecting to see anyone there, and Miranda turned her head sharply toward her and said in a deep voice, "Be quiet." She then went back to staring at the fridge. Mom was speechless. After a moment, she walked up to Miranda and gently guided her back to her bedroom. She thought maybe she was sleepwalking. Mom told me, "I've never heard that voice come out of her before. It didn't sound anything like my daughter. It was deep, almost like a grown man trying to sound like a little girl." The next night, Mom couldn't sleep. She kept hearing the voice echoing in her head. She decided to get up and check to see if Miranda was in bed. Her door was open, and by the sliver of light from the hall, she could see a body on the floor. Alarmed, she flipped on the light and shrieked as she saw Miranda on the floor, her back completely arched, her face upside down, contorted and frozen, and if she were caught mid-scream, though she was silent. Then the voice came again, deep and masculine. "Be quiet, you whore." Mom was tearful and shaking as she recounted the story. She had no idea where Miranda could have heard that language, and she had never said anything like it before. She was usually a polite and happy child. Mom had gathered her up and taken her directly to the emergency room after this incident. They admitted her for long-term EEG monitoring to assess for seizures, but so far, everything was normal. If you've never experienced EEG monitoring, it's basically where they attach a bunch of electrodes to your head, monitor you on 24-hour video feed, and try to capture a seizure. Apparently, this process had not been going well. The resident showed me a few clips from the week. It usually happened around 2 or 3 a.m. Miranda would get up from bed, lie on the floor, and arch her back. The nurse would come in and try to get her back into bed. If anything loud happened, the child would scream in an unearthly deep voice, curse, and call the nurse unpleasant names, including whore, beast, and cunt. It was unnerving to hear this adorable little child say such vile things, and that voice. The testing showed she was not having a seizure during the episodes. Her vital signs were all stable, and so far, all the lab work was normal. I spoke to Miranda for a while. She was soft-spoken and answered my questions in a flat, unemotional tone. Her eyes were vacant, like looking into the eyes of a veteran in the middle of a PTSD flashback. The eyes looked at you, but seemed to be seeing beyond you, through you, to somewhere else. I decided to try an experiment. As we talked, I slowly dialed up the volume on the TV. Once it started getting louder than normal speaking volume, Miranda stopped mid-sentence and stared me right in the eyes. I froze. I've seen a lot of shit in my line of work. I've seen people in violent, psychotic episodes, people smearing their feces on the walls, people cutting themselves, spitting, screaming, punching, you name it. But something about the way she looked at me scared the shit out of me. I turned the volume back down. She looked away and finished answering the question. I felt bad for the mom. It was like one day she had a sweet, normal daughter, and the next day, it was very unusual. I didn't know what was wrong or how to help. I recommended therapy. I never saw them again, but I think about her often. Edit. Just to clarify, abuse or trauma were high on the differential in this case, but there was nothing we could find while she was inpatient. CPS was involved, but I don't know if they ever found anything either. Hopefully, if something did happen, it came out in the course of therapy. I'm still friends with the psychologist I referred her to. I'll email her and see if I can get an update. Here's the update of the story. For those of you who read the first post, I have an update on Miranda. Unfortunately, it's not very happy. She saw my therapist friend for a few months after she left the hospital, but they didn't make much progress. The abuse allegations were never substantiated, and her behavior continued to deteriorate, yelling obscenities at Mom, having non-epileptic seizures, until finally she actually stopped talking altogether. The last time they saw the therapist, their plan was to follow up at Mayo Clinic for further evaluation. My friend never saw or heard from them after that. If we want to be optimistic, maybe Mayo figured out how to help her, and that's why she never returned to therapy? Alright, that's all for today. Hope you enjoyed that one as much as I did. If you did, give this video a like, it helps more than you know. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss tomorrow's story, and I'll see you in the next one.